gonna.
And we're back.
Hey, good to see you. Good to see you. It's been a long time. We've
Yeah,
watched a lot of sci-fi over the last little while.
yeah. And a
And
show that we didn't record for the first season, but now we're going to talk about for the second season. We're going to do. So, it's going to be fun.
well, you got to say the name of it, pal.
All right. Today we are going to talk about the Halo show on Paramount Plus.
And so I just wanted to chat uh quickly. We listened to a podcast, right, about Star Wars
Yeah.
called what? Star Wars Fandom, I think.
Something like that, I think. And
We should give them a shout out, right?
oh yeah. Yeah, shout out to Star Wars Fandom.
What
We
was it?
listened to you guys on our
Yes.
car ride back,
Yeah, it was
and
that was pretty good. They were getting us set up and excited about what's that season
season 3, I think, of the Bad Batch, and
Bad Batch. Yeah. And so
uh,
that was cool. We also watched
yeah,
Real Steel, which isn't really a sci-fi, but is just
it's
interesting
really
the way that it
yeah,
took one element of technology and brought us to the future, and the only thing that changed was
right.
that that robots, which is a really
Yeah,
interesting
and like
deal with
yeah,
the.
also interesting to see how. Sorry, it's also really interesting to see how like the world, yeah, like was barely changed except for a few things that they added to like work with for the robots, like the recharging stations or like, the headset and stuff, but and like, the phones, the weird sci-fi phones, but on that, like everything looked, kind of like today-ish.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just interesting. They like, yeah, that they sped it into the future, but they didn't spend a lot of time making everything get into
Yeah.
the future, sort of.
And and kind of like the opposite to that would be like the creator uh with like like AIs and stuff and robots. And that movie was a really good one as well because like
Yeah,
while it was set more in the future and it had a few more questionable ethics than the Real Steel one. It was also really good movie as well, talking about like the
yeah,
future.
yeah. That's right. I forgot we watched that as well.
That's a
Yeah,
really
cool. Well, we can jump to Halo. I watched the last episode of the first season, and then I just watched the first episode of the second season. And I when I was watching when I came to start the second season, I wanted to go back and watch it because I was like, I don't know how long ago it was, but I was like, I don't quite rem remember what went on. And then I watched it, and I was like, oh yeah, this was a really good movie. Like I don't play the vid, so I don't know anything about it. And but it was like a really good, it was a good story. So I guess my question, even before we get into the second season, is does the movie, like, the world that they're describing, is that a world you're already familiar with?
um when
More
you're
or
talking
less?
about well, okay, to get on that, when you're talking about the movie, are you talking about the show or like
No, no, I'm
another
just I'm
movie?
just talking about the series.
Okay, all right. So uh okay, I'm aware of like I may not know literally every single detail, every character, but I know like more than a broad sense of the world that they're in and stuff. So yeah, I'd say that like a lot of this, like some of the things that they've added, quite a few of the things they've added aren't, I wouldn't say not to the original. Like it's more like they kind of just stuck stuff into the original world when they were bringing this new one in. So
And
like
is
yeah,
the storyline from
original.
the
Uh,
yeah, like, is it from the game or books or what? Like I don't,
it's
like I don't know any
right,
story, right? I'm just walking into
right.
it
Okay.
totally from the get-go, and I'm just wondering, is it like when you guys are playing, are you playing within a story, or are you just like shooting? Are you playing on those? planets and you recognize stuff, or I just like, I think they did a really good job. I had never played the game and I really liked the show, and I'm just sort of fascinated by that.
Yeah. So in the game series, uh certain worlds that they've touched upon, uh like a big one is Reach, where like all the commanders and stuff are on, and like that is basically they have a whole game set on that world. But so a lot of the quite a bit of the stuff that they've touched on kind of is in the movie, but or the show, but other places aren't. So like a lot of the planets that they've been to as well aren't in the show or in the game. And like for example, the place where all the pirates are stationed at, that's also in the universe but isn't in the games. So you know the story itself is kind of loosely, so it's interesting. You really like the show, correct?
Yeah.
To me, as an avid fan of the original game and stuff, I have mixed opinions on it. So it's really interesting kind of way we're going to talk about it. So the show series is kind of based ish on the original series,
Yeah.
like all the battles and stuff and the fighting, and that's based on the original, but it's kind of, so Halo Reach is a prequel game to the original series, and that's like the furthest one I think that we're like you were just fighting in it. So and the world that we're watching right now is kind of basically going into that game, like the timeline of that game.
And so what is it that you don't like as much? Like the way they dealt with certain characters, or were they breaking rules that they made or something, or?
So okay, so an interesting thing about in the first season is how Master Chief and that woman who was raised by the Covenant are these kind of guys. I'm not exactly sure if they specifically say it, but in the lore they're called reclaimers. So like it's a long story, but to cut it short is that like in their genes they have like this thing that allows them to activate these technologies from a super ancient and extremely powerful race. Do you remember that scene where they arrive and like both Master Chief and that uh, woman are like there's that one, I think it's the ending of one of the episodes where like they're on this massive kind of like structure, kind of
Right.
ring,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
so
yeah.
that's so they as reclaimers are able to like use that technology and stuff. And
Mhm.
like a lot of the technology that the Covenant have, it's kind of reverse engineered of that. So that's kind of like why they're that kind of powerful. The issues I have with the show isn't exactly with that. So in the original game show, most humans are able to activate technology, where it's the reverse in the show, where only a few humans can do it.
Uh,
Um, but in the I was okay, so the show, I kind of, it was almost like the show before we watched any of the show. I was expecting kind of like a waiter, almost like a waiter to bring out, like this waiter's describing this amazing feast that he's going to bring out to you. And, one course at a time, one episode at a time, but you're going to love it. And parts of it are really amazing that he brings out, which is mainly the fighting scenes, to me at least. Maybe to you it's like amazing, like story and stuff, and more of a Blade Runner-esque situation for you, where like you like kind of the few fighting scenes and a lot of the talking. For me, however, based on what I knew basically of the original series, the games, and also basically what the waiter was saying, is that there's gonna be tons of action and it's gonna be both faithful and unique in its own sense for the world that they're in. And I was expecting a lot of fights. What the waiter basically brought out was, instead of a full course meal, it was Skittles and vegetables. So really, the Skittles are like, to me, the fighting scenes. And sometimes there's some really cool scenes. Like, for example, in I think the last episode, when they capture, when like last episode of the first season, they have Dr. Halsey and they're trying to like get her to, tell them secrets and stuff. And then she like dies. And they were like thinking, wait, what happened? And then we see, oh, she's escaped. That was a really cool scene for me. And other cool scenes are like all the fighting scenes, because in those fighting scenes, you see how powerful the Spartans are in comparison to like human stuff. Because like, even in episode 1 of season 2, you see how like they're running so fast, like way faster than any human. And then there's a scene where like Master Chief like fights a ton of like elite assassins, and that is the Skittles to me. That is like amazing. The vegetables are just like all the other scenes, really. Like it 90%, 80 to 90%, 90 to 80, where of the original Halo series was you fighting with like information coming to you. And then there were cutscenes. Yeah, the original game. And that's kind of what I expected. But it's the opposite, basically. It's 20% fighting, 80% stories. And, I can see what they're kind of trying to do with like, unique characters and stuff and different stories. But I feel that some of the stories are just like unnecessary, or like just there to fill in the time slot to make it like an hour show.
Right.
Like,
I don't get, I mean, it's interesting. Like, so you want more fighting because that's the part of the game you like. That is the game, basically.
yeah,
right?
basically.
Like, but I mean, why not just watch somebody on Twitch playing the game?
You're right. You're right. The thing is that like, to me, I've already played the game. Like, I like replaying games sometimes, but like, I like, seeing something new for the first time and like, wow, that's really cool. So I've played the games and like that's really fun, just like fighting stuff. And the show does that really really, really, really good. Where like the fighting scenes, because like you get a sense of how powerful the Spartans are. Like they just kind of like smash them around and like do these really cool fighting scenes. And that's awesome. But like then it's like the rest of the episode and then 2 more episodes of just them talking and doing stuff with like some action scenes, but it's mainly just them doing like subplots and main plots of like what's happening, or like the Covenant's glassing plans and stuff. And like that's cool for a while, but then it's just kind of that every like 3 episodes, with like one of the episodes of those 3 maybe being a fight scene, like a major fight scene. And like, that'd be cool if it wasn't based on Halo. But because it's based on Halo, I expect there to be a lot of fighting, because that's kind of the world you're set in. Like, yeah,
not enough fighting.
Yeah, like the talking's cool and all, and like I can see how like they're changing the stories in cool ways, but like that's kind of like just what they're doing. Like they're changing the story and then adding good scenes and then adding subplots and weird situations. And then there was this one scene that I think most, if not every, of the original of like people who really love the game series cringed at. And that was when Master Chief had fun times with the woman. And that was really weird to me, because that never happens ever. And then there's like that scene where Cortana kind of just watches it. And like that was weird. And then like the rest, and then it kind of just weird stuff. So season 2 is doing better, because like it's showing interesting things of like, the major fight scene. And then they're setting up like I've seen a bit of the news of like, the actors talking about it, and they said like, don't worry, season 2 is going to be a lot better. They're going to, basically show the game series of that. Like at the end of episode 1, we saw that major fleet coming out of the sky.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so let me, can I,
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff
yeah,
that I don't know. Like I kind of lost track on who it ends with the kid in a cave with a young woman, and it
yeah.
cuts to some kind of triangle thing. Like I wasn't too sure what all that stuff was.
Okay, so
And then obviously,
I'm,
yeah, the clouds and all
yeah,
that.
okay. So few things. So obviously we have, I'm not spoiling basically any of the like episode 2 of it. So what interests me is how, okay, so interesting thing is that how in episode 1 they talk about the Covenant are landing troops on planets,
Like practice training or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
even though they're glassing it. And like that's an interesting thing because yeah, like these guys are preparing for something bigger than just glassing a planet. They're preparing for like an invasion. And obviously to me, it's that like, okay, so they're destroying comms relays. That probably means that, hey, these guys, what if they're going to get attack reach? And like the news articles, I like not spoiling it of articles, but like they're saying that like season 2 is going to have a lot more combat in it. So I'm thinking like, yeah, this massive fleet is going to arrive on reach and there's going to be major battles and stuff. And like they also said like this is going to be a grittier, darker season. So, expecting this kind of thing. So it's, I've I'm hoping that season 2 is going to be better, but like the past of season 1 has kind of worried me.
So just remind me again, who is the kid and the
So
is the kid the pirate's son or something? Like,
yeah, so
and
I,
who's the the girl in the cave? He would they were
I
looking
think it was that Master Chief, in the beginning of
to
the
take care of her or
season.
something like that.
Yeah, like you're special or something, and then like he dropped him off with like so the
He was supposed to capture her. What was that in the first?
no, okay, so there's two of the important women are the Covenant woman
Yeah,
and the woman who witnessed her family all dying and like
right,
has special ties to maybe the Forerunners as well, which
right.
are like the guys who like made the rings and all this sort of stuff.
Okay.
So like
So
the
and then she was telling the little kid some stories of
yeah, and like the kid is the son
honey
of,
lore or something, right?
yeah, so the kid is the son of the main pirate guy, and he's important because you kind of saw how like I think even in episode in the new season how his hand was kind of like clubbish, more like kind of like malformed. That's because he was a Spartan too, and
Oh,
like he they're kidnapped as children and modified genetically, so they're super powerful, super strong, super fast and stuff. And we're
that's why I'm trying to find Halsey.
I think maybe like it's a difficult situation, but yeah, kind of maybe. So like it's also because like there's a bounty on her head, I think, as well.
Right. But it sounded like he wants to kill her or something, I guess, because
Yeah,
she
figure something out.
he
Yeah.
went, yeah, through the program. Huh. And when do you remember the camera kind of like pointed to like something on the ground that was like a triangle with a little light in it or something? I'm not too sure.
Maybe so. I'm not really sure about that scene specifically, but
Yeah.
it may have to do with either the Covenant or the Forerunners, who are like the guys who like are really important to the series.
Yeah. Well, I would say I quite liked it. I forgot about it, and I definitely liked it. Definitely liked it. Well, I think that we should wrap up our episode today. Watch
Yeah.
watch a few more episodes. Is it coming out weekly or is it all out?
I think it's a weekly thing. Let me check the next episode. Let's see. So,
Yeah, so I'll catch up on those and
uh,
we can.
yeah. So, okay. So first two dropped on Thursday, February 8th. They'll drop every Thursday until March 21st.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Cool. Well, good to chat. Thank you for all our fans here on
yeah.
Star Wars for Daddies. and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Yeah. All right. See you then.
See you then.